Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at an extremely interesting strategy called an overload strategy that helped catapult this trainer from 2600 ELO all the way up to Legend in the Remix Cup in just a few days. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Neo Doombot, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now the team is a triple electric team with Shadow Zapdos, Shadow Magnezone, and Unova Stunfisk, with the theory that even if the opponent has one counter to electric, it's not going to be able to beat all three electric types, and most of the meta is pretty soft to electric type damage. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's take a look at this team absolutely crushing the competition. Hopping into the first match, we see a tricky lead Shadow Zapdos versus Quagsire. So right off the bat, triple electric team, seeing a ground type, but let's see what he can do here. He fires off the Drill Peck on charge attack priority to a Stone Edge. Opponent is going to commit the shield. And we do see that this Quagsire is running Mud Bomb. They save switch into a Steelix, so they have two ground types, but Steelix has an extremely poor matchup against Mudshot Unova Stunfisk. Opponent is going to fire off the Psychic Fangs, and we're going to see the Stunfisk being able to make it to double Mud Bomb before the opponent gets their next move. Mud Bomb number 1 is thrown, able to make Mud Bomb number 2 one turn before this next charge attack is reached. Mud Bomb is going to pick up the knockout. Back in comes Quagsire. Quagsire looking to farm up and fire off a charge attack. The defense has already been lowered on the Ufist, so it's not going to be able to hang on and survive the Mud Bomb. Back in comes the Zapdos. Zapdos stored some energy from earlier, going to be able to fire off the Drill Peck and grab the shield. The fact that the opponent is shielding so much definitely feels like they are weak to electric damage in the back. Quagsire again going for the Mud Bomb. Zapdos firing off the Drill Peck. Drill Peck is going to do a lot of damage here. What does the opponent have in the back? Oh, they're not weak to electric, but that's still something that's not going to be able to survive a Wild Charge. It's a Jirachi in the back. Shadow Magnezone Wild Charge. Jirachi gone in a blink of an eye. Two ground types versus triple electric, and triple electric still gets the win. We move to the next match, Shadow Zapdos on the lead, and it's going up against Crocolore. Definitely nice to not see the Crocolore going up against the Shadow Magnezone. Zapdos taking a lot of damage from the Incinerates, baits the Thunderbolt, and gets the shield. Opponent trying to force a shield back if Zapdos wants to make it to a Thunderbolt, and Zapdos is more than happy to make this Thunderbolt and guarantee the knockout or the final shield. Because we know Shadow Magnezone is way too good with the shield advantage, and that's exactly what the opponent just did. They're going to actually pivot, send in Emolga. In comes the Shadow Magnezone. Shadow Magnezone does have a pretty nice matchup here. The hardest hitting move for Emolga is Acrobatics, which is double resisted, so they're forced to go for Discharge instead. Discharge, oh boy, this is going to be close if it KOs or not. Letting it through the Discharge, does not KO, and getting the double up. This means whatever they send in is probably getting one-shot by a Shadow Wild Charge. Do they send back in the Crocolore? They do, and this is going to be goodbye to the Crocolore. Shadow Wild Charge, it doesn't matter that it's neutral. In the back, it's Ferrothorn, and here's where the energy and the health on the Stunfisk can offer a win con. Stunfisk is a Pokemon that is usually pretty helpless against grass types, but since Ferrothorn is the grass steel type, the Mud Bombs hit for neutral, and let's watch Unova Stunfisk go to work. Stunfisk knows it's not in a range where Power Whip will KO, so we are going to see a no shield. Bullet Seed has great energy generation, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. So now Unova Stunfisk going up against a grass type should be able to withstand the Bullet Seed, make it to the Mud Bomb, and get the KO. The energy management with Stunfisk ending up working out amazingly, and that's another win. Shadow Zapdos versus Shadow Dragonite. This matchup is going to be over in the blink of an eye. Look at those Dragon Breaths. Shadow Dragonite, so oppressive with a fast move pressure. Drill Peck gets the shield. We see the save switch into the Shadow Magnezone. Magnezone not going to make a move before Dragonite fires off some energy. Even a Dragon Claw you do want to respect. And now we're going to see the Mirror Shot immediately fired, not letting the Dragonite make it to a second move. The Mirror Shot will pick up the KO. In comes Poliwrath. Poliwrath has to commit a shield, or they're getting one shot by a Wild Charge. And if Poliwrath is their best response to an electric type, then things are honestly looking pretty good. The Zapdos still has some health available, and it's going to be on its 4th cycle as well. So in comes the Zapdos. In the back, it's a Feraligatr wanting to just get some damage. As the Shadow Claws, we're coming very close to knocking out the Zapdos, and now in comes the Stunfisk. Stunfisk going to be shielding up as Shadow Hydro Cannon is no joke, and committing to the Mudshot farm down, getting the farm down. In comes the Poliwrath, and Poliwrath is going to need 2 charge attacks to pick up the win here. Discharge lands, that does significant damage, and now all Stunfisk needs is a Mud Bomb. The Scald will connect. Opponent doesn't get the debuff, but it's not going to matter. The pacing on Unova Stunfisk. Mud Bomb knocks out the Poliwrath, and Triple Electric just keeps taking names. Oh my goodness. We see a Core Breaker on the lead in the next match, Shadow Zapdos versus Steelix. Steelix, of course, does very well into both the Zapdos and the Magnezone. This Steelix is on Thunderfang, so they are hunting for water types as well. So Zapdos just going to stay in here, fire off Drill Pecks, try and get as much damage as it possibly can. Zapdos does win charge attack priority over the Steelix as Steelix fires off its energy. With 2 resisted Drill Pecks, I mean, this Steelix is looking a lot more manageable for the back line. Crunch will connect, picking up the KO. In comes the Stunfisk. Stunfisk going to fire off the Mud Bomb, just trying to remove Steelix from the field of play as quickly as possible. Mud Bomb does not pick up the KO. The opponent able to survive that on 1 HP and make a last-second Psychic Fangs. They're going to send in Gligar, looking to potentially switch out. Unfortunately, the game said no, so just deciding to stay in and play it out with the Stunfisk. Stunfisk can survive 1 dig, even though it is at -1. So ideally, you just really want to wait for the opponent to throw energy here, and then you can send in the Magnezone. Opponent goes for the dig. Now we see the switch into the Magnezone. Shadow Magnezone, as long as it's not behind on energy, does surprisingly well versus Gligar. Magnezone shields at the last second, and unfortunately does get baited. That's not ideal. Magnezone baiting itself here, going for the Mirror Shot. The Mirror Shot bait gets no shielded. It does get an attack drop, and this will be interesting. Magnezone going to double shield. It's another Aerial Ace. Opponent switches out. It's Mantine in the back, and they're realizing the Mantine has nowhere to run against all this electric damage. So they switch in the Mantine. Mirror Shot gets shielded. They're firing off a move. They did get debuffed. Mantine going for the Water Pulse with the debuff that does not KO, and the Magnezone leaves with double Wild Charge loaded. The Gligar does not have a move stored, and we're going to get to see Wild Charge number 1 get the shield, and Wild Charge number 2 take the win. Even with the game not letting the Magnezone instantly switch onto the Gligar like it would have wanted to, still able to fight back and somehow manage to take the win. There's water on the lead in the next match, and that's a really good sign for this team. Shadow Zapdos versus the Jellicent. Jellicent farming up, but he does not have the lightning quick pacing of Shadow Zapdos. Drill Peck bait is going to be shielded. Jellicent 1 past the Shadow Ball here. Even a Surf would do a lot of damage. We do see the shield, and it is going to be the Surf. Jellicent, this can only be a Surf. We are going to see the double shield from the Zapdos, though, because Zapdos is extremely glassy. Zapdos massively over-farming. Opponent save switches into a Ferrothorn, and this energy is actually going to be extremely useful versus the Ferrothorn, as Ferrothorn is going to be hit with Drill Peck after Drill Peck after Drill Peck in this matchup. Drill Peck number 2 is going to connect. Opponent forced to fire off energy, and Zapdos was almost at Drill Peck number 3, and Power Whip will secure the KO. In comes the Magnezone. Magnezone gets a nice 2-volt switch head start and almost takes no damage in the process. In the back, it's Empoleon. Empoleon plays to a charge attack priority tie that it does not win. The Magnezone baiting with the Mirror Shot gets the shield. Hydro Cannon will be able to pick up the KO, but now it's all up to Unova Stunfisk. Stunfisk will be able to outpace the Empoleon here if it wants to. Opponent is going to go for a switch and a catch onto the Jellicent. So a good catch by the opponent. Stunfisk has to make sure that it leaves with a Mud Bomb loaded, as Empoleon is 1 move away from a Hydro Cannon. And after a Surf lands, or in this case a Shadow Ball, it will definitely KO. So now we just see the building up of the back-to-back moves by the Stunfisk, and this is a guaranteed win. As Mud Bomb KOs the Jellicent, in comes the Empoleon, and it's still that 1 Steel Wing short. Very nice energy management on the Stunfisk, and able to secure that victory. Shadow Zapdos in the next match, greeted with Alolan Ninetales. We'll have to check the fast move. It's Charm. We see a save switch into Unova Stunfisk. Opponent sends in Ferrothorn. Opponent has clearly never met a fire type in their entire lives, as they are so weak to any fire type like the Crocolore that we saw in a previous match. Unova Stunfisk, we've seen this before, not a great matchup, but with an energy advantage, Stunfisk can put in some very nice work here. Stunfisk going to be met with the Power Whip. The Power Whip is going to connect, dealing some significant damage. Stunfisk, if it can tank 1 more Bullet Seed, then it can potentially force a shield. This is going to be close. The Stunfisk is very low. Stunfisk does not survive. That is unfortunate. And a Power Whip, even though it's going to be resistant onto both these Pokemon, is still going to do quite a lot of damage. In comes the Zapdos. Zapdos with a decision to make. Zapdos got a no shield. It's a flash cannon that does so much damage. Oh my goodness. In comes the Ninetales. Ninetales will be hit with the Drill Peck. Drill Peck, does it get a shield from the opponent? It does, and it's all up to Magnezone to sweep in this endgame. Charm does add up. Opponent, Mantine in the back. You already know, Mantine is on basically every team in this meta, and having triple electric is incredibly effective at just telling Mantine that it is not invited to this battle. Mantine going for the aerial ace. We will see the shield just to preserve HP, because we have so much energy on this Magnezone. Magnezone, Mirror Shot, gets shielded. Opponent has energy. Can Magnezone survive? The Weather Ball, it does survive. And the Charmer gets KO'd. I don't even have to see the damage. I know it's gonna be enough. Double super effective. Triple electric on a rampage. In the next match, it goes up against the ground type, but it's a ground type that is beatable for Zapdos. It is the normal Gligar. Zapdos farms up and plays to a charge attack priority tie on a potential dig from the Gligar. The regular Gligar is definitely easier to beat because 2 Drill Pecks are needed to KO whether it's Shadow or not, so the fact that you're just taking less damage from the non-Shadow Gligar is a definite plus. Drill Peck does get shielded. Opponent will fire off the Aerial Ace, deciding to commit the shield here, so wanting to preserve this Zapdos, and Zapdos is going to farm up and play to the CMP tie once again. Opponent, are they going to give up the final shield? No, they're going to let it through. They're going to send in Ninetales, but guess what, Ninetales? Oh no, they're so weak in the back to the Magnezone. Magnezone just full sending the Wild Charge. Wild Charge picks up the one-hit KO. In comes the Ninetales. The easy switch out into Unova Stunfisk just to reset the defense drop on the Magnezone. And the opponent is just playing on borrowed time at this point. They have zero way of winning this game, as they're not going to be able to farm down before 2 Mud Bombs are reached, and that's going to be able to force a shield. And they have no way of successfully beating the Shadow Magnezone with a shield advantage. So the Mud Bomb, opponent realizes they have no way to win it. They're just going to let it through, and that's game over. Decent lead for Zapdos in the next match as it leads into Jellicent, and Jellicent is not going to have a good day versus this team. The Jellicent is staying in as well, and anytime a water is staying into the electric type, it's a pretty good indicator that something in the back is also weak to electric. The Drill Peck bait, so consistent at grabbing shields. Shadow Zapdos is going to shield what is almost assuredly a Surf from the Jellicent. Jellicent going for Surf number 2, and we are going to see the double shield by the Zapdos. Zapdos massively over farming here, going for another Drill Peck bait. The opponent, are they going to double shield in this matchup? They are not, and Zapdos will play to charge attack priority. So if the opponent wants to land the Surf, they're going to have to give up the final shield. But this is just going to set up Shadow Magnezone to get an energy advantage, and we know how scary that is. Yep, like clockwork, in comes the Shadow Magnezone. It can now outpace anything in the format. In comes Annihilate, and Annihilate is going to have a terrible day. This comes really close to one-shotting. Wild Charge does pick up the one-hit KO. It's Mantine in the back again. And this team, man, this team, oh my goodness. We've got some scorching spice from the opponent in the next match as we see Shadow Zapdos versus Salazzle. Opponent running a very cool Pokemon. They try for the farm down, but the Shadow Zapdos barely able to hang on and make the Drill Peck right before the Incinerate KOs. In comes the Stunfisk. Look at those Mud Shots. Those Mud Shots are doing wild damage. They go for a Poison Fang bait. They're now going to pivot into Mantine, and I think they're just going to get swept by a Magnet right here. Because if you get the shield call right on the Water Pulse, or in this case the Ice Beam, you can just farm down and leave with way too much energy. The Salazzle does have a Fang loaded, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, we actually see a switch into a Steelix as the final Pokemon. So, unfortunately, the Magnezone is not going to be able to sweep, but the good news is this should be a pretty cut and dry Unova Stunfisk sweep. So, the Magnezone, unfortunately, that energy does not go very far against the Steelix. Although, to be fair, after enough Mirror Shots, I think the Steelix will actually be below half HP. And now a wild charge probably does like, I don't know, 25-ish%. It is double resisted, but it's still a shadow wild charge. Yeah, that does a lot. They send in the Salazzle. Salazzle firing off energy. Stunfisk with a choice to make. Calls it. It's the Dragon Pulse. That does some significant damage, but the Stunfisk commits to the farm down. And with that Mud Bomb loaded, even a Steelix in the back is not enough to stop the triple electric team as it gets another victory. Final match, Shadow Zapdos versus Serperior. Serperior staying in this lead, so they are clearly not very well positioned in the back to handle the Zapdos. Drill Peck connects. That does so much damage onto this Serperior. Oh my goodness. A Frenzy Plant will do a ton of damage as well, so we will see a shield, and Zapdos is going to fire off the Drill Peck to prevent the opponent from throwing their next move. The Drill Peck is going to be shielded, and it is going to be another Frenzy Plant fired off here by the Serperior. Serperior goes for the Frenzy Plant. That picks up the KO, but again, Shadow Magnezone with energy. Let's see what they have. They send in Carbink. Oh boy. Oh boy. If Carbink is your best response to a 2-volt switch head start Shadow Magnezone, you are in absolute shambles. Being able to fire off back-to-back mirror shots. Mirror shot number 2, shielded up by the Carbink. Carbink can't even fire off a charge attack. Magnezone on a rampage right now. This mirror shot, it looks like the opponent may have just force closed their app. Let's see, what do they have in the back? I'm guessing Dugong. Let's see though. And it is, oh, it's Mantine. Mantine absolutely everywhere in this cup, and the opponent realized once that Magnezone got the energy head start, there was zero chance they were winning that game. All in all, I think this is definitely one of the more creative strategies that I've seen, and I mean, these battles are from 2600 to 2700s, and then he was able to climb all the way up to legend rank last night with this team, so big congratulations there, and it ended up being a very successful meta read, calling that a lot of people are weak to electric, and most counters to electric types are things that if you run electric types with different coverage, you can actually beat, like the Stunfisk that can beat the Steelix, you have the Zapdos that's very good at handling Glygars, and heck, even the Shadow Magnezone, if you have a small energy lead and get your shield calls right, can do pretty well into the Shadow Gligar. So it's very rare to see a team where all 3 Mons share the same typing have a lot of success, but in this case, yeah, it seems to be a really good climbing team for these final couple days of the Remix Cup. But yeah, big congratulations, and what a team. What a team. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.